Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. The National Defense Authorization Act, the NDAA, we're still waiting on it as far as I know, at least hopefully by the time this thing posts up. Still waiting to see what's going on. However, the Pentagon is concerned. And so I wanted to read through some of the stuff that I found regarding a few different aspects of what they are concerned with and go from there. And I wanted to get your thoughts on it. I'd love to see that in the comments if this is something that you're following for sure. So with that, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, share with a friend, all that good stuff. I truly appreciate it. This is on rollcall.com and sharing it with you here today. This just came out a few days ago, October 3rd. And just wanted to share with you, again, some of this information. So with that, let's jump into it. Pentagon voices significant concern with many NDAA provisions. Concerns include submarine procurement plan, culture war provisions, and more. So let's go on here. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin III has sent to leaders of the armed services panels a 15-page letter detailing his serious worries about several dozen pending provisions in the House or Senate NDAAs. Some of these are topics of significant concern, Austin wrote in the September 26th letter obtained by CQ Roll Call. Quotation here, if left unaddressed, certain provisions in the House passed or Senate proposed bill will subsequently impact the department's ability to accomplish our strategic goals. House and Senate negotiators have begun reconciling the House passed fiscal 2025 NDAA with the Senate Armed Services Committee's version and hope to clear a bipartisan measure later this year. Heartburn, in quotations. Austin's new missive, which I had to look that up. I didn't know what missive. I thought it was a misspelling. New missive, missive. It means a long formal letter. So Austin's new missive is this year's version of an annual Pentagon communication known as the Heartburn Letter. In it, the department tells the authorization committees of provisions in the House and Senate NDAA that are causing the department worry as lawmakers meet to write a final version of the measure. The new letter reiterates some Pentagon concerns that were previously known, for example, about provisions in the House GOP authored bill to limit what the U.S. military can do on culture war, matters such as transgender health care and diversity promotion. But the document also reveals Defense Department concerns about numerous other provisions that are less well known. These include a number of NDAA proposals that prescribe or proscribe weapons or military organizations, as well as disclosure of several cost estimates and projections of budgetary implications. Whatever. Austin thanked the defense authorizers for major investments in U.S. defense programs. Nevertheless, he added, the respective fiscal year 2025 House passed and Senate proposed NDAA bills include certain provisions of significant concern to the department. There's a kind of bolded out area here, submarines and pay hikes. In the document, Austin reiterated the department's opposition to procuring a second Virginia-class attack submarine in fiscal 2025. He conveyed officials' concerns that USS sub-manufacturers lack the workforce and capacity to build 2 attack subs this fiscal year and deliver them on what he called a reasonable schedule. The secretary argued that being required to build a second sub would force a $400 million cut to the Navy's developmental next-generation fighter program, making it unexecutable and degrading the Navy's ability to field next-generation aircraft capabilities required in the 2033 to 2037 timeframe. In addition, Austin said the department strongly objects to the House's proposal to increase pay for junior enlisted military personnel by nearly 20%, saying it is excessive and would unacceptably narrow the difference between junior and senior pay rates. And I will tell you that that's always hard. When you're trying to lift the lower workers, there still needs to be that gap of promotion ability. You can't have, somebody lower getting paid higher, so everybody kind of gets pushed up. So it's a concern. I think that they're underpaid, but I don't know what the number is. I'd have to look to see, where's a reasonable number. 20% is pretty big. And obviously he is expressing big concerns there. The House proposed pay changes would cover over $3.3 billion in fiscal 25 and a total of more than $21.9 billion from fiscal year 25 to 29, he wrote. Limiting options is the next kind of bolded out section here. And let's see what this says. So, limiting options. Austin also pushed back against proposed directives on what the Pentagon should buy or maintain in its inventories. He objected, for example, to the House's bill requirement that the Pentagon build a third missile defense site on the East Coast to protect against a ballistic missile attack. He said it is not necessary and would cost $5 billion to construct. He also expressed concern about mandates in one or both bills to restrict the department's planned reductions to certain types of aircraft and other assets, or to limit Pentagon's options on force structure and basing decisions. He also criticized a House provision that would block a planned 3,000 soldier reduction to Army Special Forces end strength. Similarly, that's a hard word for me. In a similar fashion, that's easier, Austin assailed the Senate bill's proposed restrictions on cutting U.S. forces in Syria and on closing the U.S. military-run prison at Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, or moving detainees from there to U.S. prisons. Milcon and management is the next kind of bolded out section, and I want to say this is where it wraps up. So, Austin also opposed a Senate mandate to reestablish a chief management officer position and another to set up a new assistant secretary for nuclear deterrence policy and programs. He took aim, too, at the House proposal to cut the department's discretionary budget by 0.5% if the Pentagon does not produce an unqualified audit opinion on the financial books by 2029. Last November, the Pentagon released for the sixth consecutive fiscal year a department-wide audit with a disclaimer of opinion, meaning the financial statements were once again not, in the view of independent auditors, reliable enough for them to reach a conclusion or to reach conclusions. Austin also opposed inclusion of 23 military construction projects that would only be partly funded, and as such, he said, would create an unfunded obligation of $2.4 billion in future budgets. And he hit proposed reductions to fully funded projects in the president's request that would pay for lawmakers' preferred work. The House approved so-called culture war provisions that drew Austin's opposition in the letter would, and there's a couple, I guess we'll call them bullets, cut back on programs to promote diversity, inclusion, diversity, equity, and inclusion, bar the military's healthcare system from covering gender transition, and prohibit spending on certain initiatives to address military reliance on survivability in the face of climate change. And that looks like it concludes it. So with that, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. Have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.